welcome back to another video. Today you're joining me on one of my little pitter patter potter putter sessions where I look at new leaves, check root growth, check how the pest management's going. It's usually not altogether that productive, but I do have one little chore thing I want to do today, which is kind of top up my tree fern soil bin. I want to mix up a fresh batch with a new soil component I just picked up. I get a lot of questions on tree fern soil, so I thought it would be a nice little refresh. I did do a whole video on it, but it's nice to kind of like just give you guys updates when I try new things. And yeah, I don't have a ton of time to film today, but I do want to spend this time with my plants and with you and have nice little chill time. So hopefully that sounds good. I feel like the last few weeks I've been pretty plant chore heavy, which has been great because now I just get to enjoy the plant room. My tent door just wants to, it's like moving a little bit. Can you hear it? I Velcroed it open. Hold on, let me fix this. Hopefully that will stay. Since I've been so diligent with the plant chores over the last month, I feel like I can just enjoy this time of like quite organized, tidy, quite organized and tidy. If you watched last week's video, we did all this like reorganizing, restyling this shelf. Reorganizing, restyling this shelf, it's growing on me quite a bit. I did like it on the day, but as the leaves are kind of like relaxing into their new spots, I'm really enjoying this right now. So we just get to enjoy this nice little bubble, this moment in time where everything is kind of good until something bad happens again. Before we get into the plants, I just want to make a really quick but very exciting announcement. A lot of you already know this, so it's not brand new information, but this is my official announcement that I'm going to be attending IAS, or International Aroid Show, in Miami, September 21st and 22nd. I am attending as a Palm Street ambassador, which just saying it out loud is insane. Like I cannot believe that this is my life, but I get to go to Miami with Palm Street. I get to bring Jing with me. I wanted to go with Charmaine. They did invite Charmaine, but she can't make it this year. So just me and Jing are going, and so I've been wanting to go to IAS for so long, and there's always been a reason why I couldn't go, like couldn't afford it. The timing was conflicting with other things, but this year I finally get to go, and I'm so excited to be there. I'm going to be filming. I'm planning to get a lot of footage while I'm there, so it might be split into 2 videos, but if I can make it into one, I'll try to make it into one, but I kind of think it's going to be 2 videos. The official show runs over 2 days, and the first day there's like a IAS members auction dinner with a panel of 4 very exciting speakers, so I'm really excited to attend that. I'm going to try to go to Fairchild Tropical Gardens at some point. Joseph, if you're watching this, Joseph is on our Discord and he has invited me and Kayla, one of our moderators, to go with him to tour, do like a really quick tour. He was like, we can go in the morning to avoid the Miami heat. I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot of anxiety surrounding this trip because I just want to do this trip justice and be able to like create an enjoyable video for you guys and be able to capture the event as I see it, which I feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, but all that to say, it's good nerves. If you're attending IAS, or if it's not your first time attending IAS, I would love to know like what to expect. What is even the dress code for the dinner? I have no idea. It's Miami, but it's kind of like a fancy dinner. So it's just all this stuff. I think I'm overthinking it, but it's like the excitement talking. All of this couldn't be possible without you guys. So I am so grateful for you guys, to Palm Street for inviting me. And yeah, that's my exciting announcement. And I'm looking really forward to like documenting the whole thing. I also have another quick little channel announcement, but I'm just going to throw that into the very end of the video. So if you're interested in knowing what's happening with this channel, just stay tuned to the end, but I'm not going to make this intro longer than it needs to be. Let us start, I think, with the tree fern soil. I have gotten quite a few questions on which soil component to use. So previous to this, I was using the ProMix HP or high porosity myco mix, which has been working really well for me. I've been using it for quite a few years, and I use it quite sparingly in that like I reuse my soil a lot. So I'll bake it if there's been root rot, if there's nothing wrong with the plant and I'm just like, I got some extra tree fern soil, I will just like chuck it back in the bin. So I'll reuse it over and over again, but I'll continuously top up with like fresh stuff, like fresh worm castings, fresh amendments. So it'll continuously get renewed, but a lot of the old stuff gets just thrown back in. So in my tree fern soil video, I said I wanted to start like using more compost based soils. It's actually so difficult to to avoid peat if you don't want to use so much peat. But there's a lot of soils or like soil type substrate mixes where they use like coco coir and they bulk it up with compost, and there's a bit of peat and there's a bit of this and a bit of that. The one that I wanted to use, and I can't get a hold of it here in Canada, is Happy Frog by Fox Farms. This one, I can get the Ocean Forest. I think it's called Ocean Forest quite easily, but no one near me stocks Happy Frog. I think it's very easy to get in the States, but it's not quite so easy, at least here in Vancouver. So I decided to not get it. I know that people love Ocean Forest, but you guys know I don't trust coco coir anymore. I think I've just seen enough bad stuff, and I'm sure their coco coir is fine and it's buffered and like well rinsed, but to me, I find like, because I grow the most anthurium, I think that's like one of the most difficult substitutes to get right, especially for anthurium. Anthurium really show the unhappiness and like the burn and the fungal stuff with coco coir if it's not properly treated. So I'm just steering completely away from coco coir. So in the end, I ended up going with, this bag is gonna last me freaking forever. This is, I don't know if it's like just a Canadian thing, but it's called sea soil. So it's like a mix of forest fines, so like all the little bits of like wood waste essentially, and that and fish byproduct, okay, let me just read the bag. Produced by composting 50% fish byproduct, brackets waste, and 50% forest fines, brackets bark, and the organics that fall off of logs during the on-land log sorting process. And then that's composted for 2 years, and it doesn't smell like fish anymore, so they say. I've not used this for indoor use ever. I've only ever used it for my container plants, like my veggie garden outside. So I don't remember if it smelled like fish or if it stank. But anyways, I think this is a British Columbian product. I want to say it's British Columbian. That could be wrong. Let me see the back. Yes, they are... they're based in BC, so I don't know if they sell this in the States or where you're located, but this is quite available here. They also do a potting mix where they have like mixed it with other amendments and also coco coirs, but I'm trying to avoid coco coir, so this is the one I went with. And if I remember correctly, it is quite dense, like it's very heavy. So I am going to have to amend this heavily with a lot of perlite, a lot of bark. It's going to be about 50% tree fern fiber. I don't know where I'm going to store this, but we're going to mix up my bin, which was kind of getting quite low, but I have topped it up with more tree fern. I put a lot of worm castings in here as my soil, but overall, this is slightly grittier and chunkier than I typically like my soil, so I do want to densify it a little bit. I know this is not the best angle, but it should work. Okay, yeah, this is as dense as I remember it. Let me see if I can give you a little visual of how dense this soil is. But this is what it looks like. It's very black. This kind of just looks like the black earth that you can get for top dressing your gardens outside. And I'm actually quite excited to use this soil because I remember the last time I used something very similar to this, I had the most amazing growth. And granted, that was, I think, winter time or like early spring. I can't really remember. So it was like slightly cooler. And that's the time of the year where I get the best growth on anthurium. They grow the fastest. They seem the happiest. I get the biggest leaves. I don't know about flowers. I haven't really like paid too much attention with that, but definitely have the happiest leaf growth. I don't like to fill my bin too high because then it's like too difficult to get everything mixed. What I would love is like one of those like cement mixer things where you can like crank a wheel and everything turns. Okay, so I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see right here is where the soil line is. Down here is kind of like a tree fern heavy mix. I'm going to just, I'm a bit lazy to go downstairs and get more tree fern, but I'm just gonna dump the rest of this in here, which is not quite like 1-to-1, but that's gonna go in. This has some pon and perlite in there. Then I'm gonna add more perlite. I don't have a mask, so I'm literally just covering my face with my t-shirt. But do not mix perlite without a mask because this stuff is not good for you. And then we gotta add some bark, which, okay, so typically I would use quite a lot of bark, but just bear in mind that down here is slightly chunkier than I'd like it to be. So I'm gonna start with making the top a little bit less chunky and then we'll go from there. And typically I would add worm castings on here too, but also like I mentioned, there's a lot of worm castings down here. So I'm gonna leave it out of the top of the mix and I'm just gonna mix now. Oh, gotta cover my face. If you watch my tree fern soil video, I did have like kind of rough ratios I could like recommend as a starter ratio or like a soil recipe, but I never go by measurements. I just go by feel. So I just like mix it, and then this is a really big piece of wood. I just mix until it feels right. Like this is the right grittiness across the widest number of like size of plants. So I would say like right now, this is slightly, like this would be perfect for a large plant or a large anthurium, but this is kind of chunky for a seedling size or like a very juvenile plant with like thinner roots. And it would also be in a smaller pot. So this would probably be a little bit too chunky for a seedling in like a 3-inch pot. So I'm just wondering if I should add a little bit more soil, but I quite like this, you know, this is what it looks like. It's going to be moisture retentive because of the soil. I'm just wondering if I should add a little bit more, or alternatively, I could just like mix up a little custom batch of like slightly denser soil whenever I pot seedlings. I'm not sure. Oh, here's a whole bunch of soil I missed. Oh, look at all that. Okay, so maybe I just mix it more thoroughly and it should be fine. Yeah, I would say like kind of this chunkiness level would work for the vast majority of people, unless you're a very bad underwater like me. Actually, I try to be good about not underwatering, but if you are an underwater, it might be not moisture retentive enough. But if you don't have a ton of light or your light is inconsistent because it's natural light and you're going through different seasons, this might be actually ideal because it's very well draining. But if you have like very bright light, the plants are going to be taking up the water. If it's quite warm where you grow, this might not be dense enough for anthurium. I actually feel like I tend to grow things in a denser mix than almost everyone I personally know. I just love mixing soil. This does not even feel like a chore. If this could be my job and I could just like get my hands in dirt all the time as a daily part of my job, I would freaking love it. Okay, actually, now that I'm finding all these little pockets of unmixed soil, I'm liking this ratio a lot. I don't think I need more perlite or bark, maybe a bit more bark. Nah, no, I think this is barky enough. And also keep in mind that the tree fern fiber, because it's so twiggy, it like kind of makes this matrix structure that allows water to drain really freely. So that also helps with aeration. Yeah, I'm excited to start planting in this and see if I see anything different. And I kind of like that if I decide like I don't like this for indoor because it's like, I don't know, too dense or something, I can always just throw it in my veggie garden. Oh, and also sea soil is not that expensive. You can get your hands on it. Well, it's a 16-kilo bag. It's pretty big and it was $10. I just don't really love these giant pieces of wood in here. That's the only thing, but you gotta expect some. Oh, there's a piece of black leca. Is this from me or from them? Okay, well, I'm really happy with this. I'm excited to start planting in it. I'll keep you guys posted. I don't know if I'll ever make a update to my tree fern soil video unless like I have something massively different I want to share. So this is just like kind of a little update, just trying a new component. Excuse me while I sweep the floors. If you don't own a magic broom, I will link it in the description, but this is just the best thing. The only task I wanted to do is done. Now I just gotta go wash my hands. Oh, I'm hot now. We've been having like weirdly autumnal weather in August. Like we had a week of rain and it was kind of cold. Like I had like a sweater on in one of my vlogs, but now it got hot again. It's kind of strange, but it's like muggy. How about let's do some leaves I'm excited about right now. What is going on right now? So I have this kind of like urge. I don't know if I'm gonna regret this. I might regret it because I'm kind of hot right now, but I have these big plants back here. I don't know if you can see this Meg Carla Pap RA5. They're kind of like getting too big for that spot, but I haven't seen them like just out in the open, naked and afraid. I don't even really know what they look like now, and I have this urge to just take it out and see. But will I regret it? Because I might not be able to get it back in there. Should we do it? Let's just do it. But in the meantime, I want to show you this little plant is so cute. I know I'm like very obsessed with this, but just come on, look how cute it is. This is Ace of Spades crossed with Eastern Dressleri from Woohoo Tropicals. It's growing so well. I'm going to give it a bit of water. It's not dry, but it's kind of getting there. I'm doing TPS1 today as usual, but I'm doing like a higher concentration than I have been historically. So now I'm at 3 soap bottle pumps for this little watering can, which I think is at least as strong as full strength that they recommend on the bottle, if not slightly stronger. But I've been doing 2 pumps for quite a few months, and you can see like my plants don't really have fertilizer burn, and I actually think it's quite difficult to burn with TPS1. I definitely have not ever burned anything, so I think I'm quite far away from the point of actually burning my plants. But this plant is just so great. It's so puffy and pillowy and it's so dark. I was hoping it would maintain a very like round appearance because when I first got it, it looked like this. I think I got this some point in the springtime, but this was looking so round, and like one of the older leaves, this little kidney bean is so cute. But over time it has started to get a little bit more elongated. And then the first leaf I grew looked like this. So it's getting a little bit more elongated, but still quite round and puffy. And then it grew this leaf, which it like literally fell over. It fell over on its side, so it got a little bit scuffed up. And then the newest leaf is like this. I think this is actually going to be one of those like plants that do absolutely fine in ambient conditions. Like Ace of Spades is a hybrid, like an unknown hybrid. Dressleri is like notoriously kind of finicky and difficult. I don't know if the Woohoo Eastern Dressleri is like a finicky one. I don't think so. It always looks really good. Like a lot of these like mother plants, oftentimes it'll look perfect, and like it's always that one photo that sellers use because it always has like crispy edges because it's kind of a diva. But I think Woohoo posts pictures of that Eastern Dressleri pretty often or shows it in lives and stuff, and it always looks awesome. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure once this gets bigger, like 4-inch pot and above, it's going to be like totally fine in ambient conditions. I just think it's a little small right now. So my specimen doesn't grow insanely fast, but it grows really steadily and has been sizing up like at a pretty satisfying rate, I would say. So this would be like maybe around 6 months growth from here to here. So not terrible, and just very cute. And it hasn't had any trouble like unfurling. It hasn't had any issues whatsoever. It does really look acey, but just more muted in the veins. Right now this leaf is just hardening off and there's still redness in the veins. You can definitely see red veins on the back. But once the leaf fully hardens, you really only get a hint of a red sinus, but the veins almost completely disappear. So if you have the chance to get one of these from Woohoo, I don't know if they're working on a second batch, but from this batch, I really recommend it because they're just wonderful. Oh, this leaf. Oh my gosh, I need to document this. I just posted a photo of this in my story, but this emergent leaf, like the Spider Ralphman emergent leaf is just a sight to behold. So this was the last leaf it grew. I chopped it. I took 2 cuttings from it and then kind of like was stuck in time for a little bit and didn't do much. It wasn't even really rooting. Like I don't even really see roots. It's not a really heavy rooter. There was one little root and yeah, that's about it. But it pushed out this leaf And oh, I'm trying not to get the glare. Look how beautiful that color is. And it's keeping that really like V-like sinus with the pointy lobes. I had so much trouble with this plant when it was little, and a lot of these plants I was having trouble with, I just kept consistently doing the same thing, like feed them, water them consistently, put them in tree fern soil, and then suddenly they just kind of had a breakthrough for no apparent reason. Like I didn't do anything different, but just kind of kept doing what I was doing, let it figure out what it wants to do. So this was one of them. My red crystal was one of them, which I historically have had a lot of trouble with. And Amanda, I got that plant from Amanda, but it was originally from NSE. Let me see if I can just bring it out for you. Oh, the saucer is full of water. I decided to water plants before filming today, but this was from NSE Tropicals. It's like one of their, like, you know, before things were being named. So this is an NSE red crystallinum, and she says that hers has also been kind of like a finicky one. And then it would just grow leaves for me that was like half formed. So like the lobe would only be formed like till about here, kind of looks like a begonia. And it would have these little damaged spots where it like curls and like rips itself, and then it starts crisping around that damage. But just recently it just started to, I don't know, be fine. And I didn't repot it in that time. I think the only thing I can think of that I might have done special for this plant is at some point I tried silica and I was not consistent with silica. So it only probably got like 3 rounds of silica and then I stopped. And then I was trying to be more consistent with CalMag on this one. So trying to make sure that like this was definitely fed with CalMag once a month. And then whenever I had extra great white water, like let's say I was repotting and I have a little bit extra at the end, I would just make sure to dump it on this plant. And it seems to be so much happier now, but it wasn't like something specific I had done that I could say for sure that was the reason, but this seems to be one of them as well. I think when I was having trouble with this plant, every leaf was this size. It would not size up. So I don't really know what happened, but we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing, and I will make sure this gets water because it's pushing that leaf. The best part of a Spider Elfman leaf, or really like a lot of Bessier hybrids, is when it's like almost fully expanded but still has that holographic purpley blue tint. But right now it just looks really like dark and evil and oily and purpley. I think maybe by the time this video is almost done being edited, I'll have an update and I'll just put that photo here of how that leaf expanded. I will have a couple of props of this plant, this specific plant, to sell at some point soon. I haven't figured out where I'm gonna sell plants. I'm thinking, so Jing is planning to do some live sales from her business account. So if you didn't know, Jing has a plant business called Plant Happens. So that's the name of her YouTube channel. So I'm asking her if I can just tag along and sell some of my props through her. So if you're interested in any of our seedlings or props, me, Charmaine, and Jing are gonna be selling most likely through Jing's account, one of her 2 accounts. I will announce it in my Instagram story, so just keep an eye. I will try to make sure that all avenues are told ahead of time, but I have 2 props of this plant that I will be letting go sometime soon. I know I showed you this plant last week, but I have to show you again because I want to show you how the leaf is expanding. My King of Spades, get out of the way. Look how beautiful this color is. It's so purpley. It's also flowering again. There's a little flower poking out right here. I don't know what to match it up with, but I definitely don't want to use it as a mother plant because King of Spades don't produce very many seeds. But I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna just, yeah, I'm gonna chop off this leaf. This leaf right here suffered quite a bit. I think this one formed before I even chopped it. So I think it had a hard time forming properly because it was around that time that this plant started flowering for the first time. This also has pest damage on it. There's like mite damage on the bottom, which I'm gonna update you on my pest management journey very soon. But oh my goodness, this plant. I want to throw it against the wall. This is for sure, yeah, this was the leaf before it. So it's kind of like more formed on top than the bottom. The bottom got a little bit crispy. This is the best formed leaf since it started flowering, for sure. And this one is very spidery. The color is just the best. I always miss documenting the color on the King of Spades when it's like at this stage. I always show it to you guys when it's like more hardened than this, but this is the best. This is the highlight of growing King of Spades, is when it's like not, it's still really floppy, and that's when the color is the most vibrant. Also, quick root update. It's been quite happily rooting out in this pot. After it fills out this pot, I'm going to have to find a larger than 8-inch pot. And if it has to be a not clear pot, it'll be a not clear pot. The only root issues I've ever had with King of Spades, because it's like a very easygoing plant, the only issues I've ever had is it being too root bound, like too rooty, and having to up pot it. So I don't foresee like a lot of root rot that I have to treat. It's always been like very good at drinking up all the water I give it. Anyways, yum yum, love this plant. I don't know how I'm getting so freaking hot in this room. Hold on. I had the door to this room closed because my boyfriend was home, but he's just gone out now. Now I opened the door. It's so much better. Holy crap. Every time I open my question box on Instagram, there's always at least like a few questions about like what are you breeding with what at the moment. So if you watched last week's video, you would have seen that we put GG Port, Niagara Loudoun GG cross with Portier on Dark Phoenix, which I think would be quite interesting. Another Dark Phoenix hybrid we're working on right now, me and Jing. So her Dark Phoenix is producing 2 sets of berries right now, which I don't know how that's going to turn out. Like if that plant is strong enough to produce 2 sets of berries at the same time. I definitely know it's been done before and breeders will do this, and she's had that plant for so many years and it's been like a breeding size for quite a long time. So I have my fingers crossed, but right now that plant is producing berries with my plants as pollen parents. So one is RA5, PAP RA5, so it's going to be Dark Phoenix PAP RA5. But the most exciting one is Dark Phoenix crossed with my King of Spades that I just showed you. If the plant decides to like get rid of one set of berries and just focus on one infructescence, I really hope it's the King of Spades it decides to preserve, because that one's the most exciting cross I feel like right now. Actually, it might be easier if I just show you on this camera, which by the way, this has been so handy to film little B-roll with, because I figured out a way to do like a multicam thing in Final Cut Pro, so it's been really handy. So I'm gonna just show you so I don't have to take out the plant. My Carla Wu one. This is definitely the easiest leaf to show you. The newest leaf is back here, but it's kind of hard to show you. Yeah, that's the best I can do. Please keep your fingers crossed for this one. I've just put Carla BVEP on it. By the way, Carla inflows are just the prettiest. They're just so like elegant. So the pollen that got put on it was my Carla BVEP. So this one is GPH crossed with round, and it was a decent sized inflow. This is probably the biggest inflow I've ever had on this plant, but I didn't put anything on it. I think this is slightly small to be a mother plant. It's not like the worst specimen to use as a mother plant, but I decided to use the pollen on this because even though this plant is younger, it's a lot more robust. I mentioned this before, but this Meg hybrid that I love, I've been obsessed with this plant for a really long time. I don't really know what it is. I think just because the veins are a little bit more spidery and it's quite dark, it just has like a very special look to it. But this one is from Amanda. It was a selfling of one of her plants. So this one is actually developing quite nicely. This one was pollinated with my King of Spades. So I think that'd be quite nice because this has kind of a spidery look. And then of course the King of Spades is quite spidery. It's very round. This plant has not always been quite round for me, but the last 2 leaves, this one didn't form properly, but this was the previous leaf, and it's like, it looks like it would have been quite round if it didn't crisp off at the bottom, because I let this thing completely dry out and then I just doused it with a ton of water. Like I watered it very deeply, and I think it got just too much edema on the tip of the leaf. And looking at this, looks like it's going to be quite a good yield. I think we're maybe like another 2 months out from berries. This is an interesting one. So this is Carib Queen. So this is a Dressleri cross with Rugulosum from J. Vanini. This is the this was the last leaf that grew in the tent before I moved it out here. This is the first leaf I put out in ambient, and there's a little bit of a tear, but that's okay. It's getting less light here in this spot than before when it was in my tent, and I think the color is coming out a little bit less like limey, which is great. These 2 leaves are on the way out, but it started to flower near to the end of its like time in the tent, and it's continued to flower out here. I have been told that Carib Queen is sterile. So I'd gotten this plant from Amanda. I don't know if she got it directly from J. Vanini or from a friend, but her friend also has this plant and she tried pollinating it and it grew berries and everything and every berry was empty. So it's very likely that it is sterile and it's not going to produce any babies, but it did work. It did take. I put dark forgetti on it. I just thought it would be really cool if it had this texture, like this very rugulosum-y texture with more velvet. I just think it would be amazing if I could get a couple of seeds. Even if like out of a 50 berries, I got like 2 seeds. That would just make my year. I think that would be so cool. But it has pushed another flower. I think based on this, it didn't produce a ton of pollen. If this produces pollen, I might use it on something else. Something that I think is very fertile and we'll be able to take that pollen and go. Another one that's going to be bred soon, and I think it's going to be like using this as the pollen donor because it's not the strongest plant yet. It's been rehabbing in tree fern soil for quite a long time. There's a flower poking out now. This is my crystal black, which is one of my most favorite plants in my whole collection. There's just something about the veins on this one I find very special. And I've had this plant for so many years and it should be a lot bigger than it is now, but it had a hard time in pond because I kept letting it dry out because it was in like a self-watering pot and the water meter said it had water, but it actually didn't. And then this leaf is the best leaf it's grown in ages. I'm just gonna pop a little photo somewhere here of when that leaf was like just this beautiful berry tone brownie color. It sparked a joy I never knew that plants could spark. It was just my favorite leaf ever. And since then it's gotten a little bit of like mite damage, a little bit of thrip damage. But yeah, this one's definitely going to be bred soon. I just don't know what to put it on. I kind of want to self it. I don't really know, but I want to match it up with something else that's also quite dark, but with silver veins. I also have this Diabloense, which is producing possibly a few sets of berries. So this inflow looks like it's dying, like it's turning orange. This one looks like it might be doing something. And then the oldest one has been holding on for like more than 3 months. I don't know. I only purposely pollinated one of them. Like I just selfed it with one of these ones and it's pushed a 4th inflow. So I don't know if that's going to work out, but if it does, it'd be really cool to have little Diabloense babies. Okay, let's attempt to bring the Magpris Carla out of the tent. Let's start with that one, and if it's not too painful, then we'll get the Papyri 5 out. Every time I bring all my plants out to like check the roots, oh, this plant needs water. Every time I do it, I can't fit them back in. I'm just like so puzzled as to how I got it in there in the first place. All right, let's see. Okay, you're kind of light. Ooh. Wowzers. Wow. I don't know if the camera is going to capture this, but there's like something that dripped on this leaf and I don't know if it's going to capture. It's like holographic rainbow. Is it going to capture? I don't know if it's going to capture in person. It's like when the cars leak oil at the bottom and it has that rainbow effect. This plant needs hecka water. I water this thing pretty regularly, but this new leaf is so pretty. Holy crap, this leaf is so pretty. And I'm so sad that it's just like squished in my tent right now. I just wish I could bring it out here, but I don't want it to get pests. But also in saying that, I'm very optimistic about the pest thing. Like I have been spraying daily for mites, like flat mites. I'm doing Safer's End-All. I'm doing Spino. I got beneficials in the exos, so I'm not spraying anything in the exos, but out here I've been spraying every single night. Once the lights go off, I just sit here and then I let the rage build up and then I go in and spray every single leaf. I find that the rage really helps to motivate me. But yeah, maybe this one could go into like a really massive pot. Oh my goodness, it's just so stinking beautiful. And I just know if I let it grow in that little spot, like being squished into the shelf above it, it's going to do this kind of thing where it starts to warp like this leaf as well. I also want to wash a lot of my plants off, but I can't right now because I've got beneficials, so I don't want to wash them away. So I don't know, there's so many things I want to do, but I just didn't plan ahead. So if I had planned ahead, I would have washed all the leaves down of these plants and then applied beneficials. I've also thought about moving this out many times, but then I'm like, okay, I want to breed with it. Maybe it will grow berries better in the tent. this inflow is just getting receptive. It's just started producing stigmatic fluid, so it's probably sticky up to about here-ish. Oh, can you see that reflective thing right now? It must have dripped on the leaf when it was like kind of smaller and it expanded and cracked. I've never observed that on a plant before. That's very interesting. Anyways, yeah, I actually feel like nothing is gonna happen with this plant. I'm just gonna shove it back in its spot and try. Oh, it's so pretty. You know what? This is the reality of these plant visits in this room. I just start taking pictures and then I post it in my stories. So let's do that right now. Here's my picture. In this picture, you actually can see the rainbow. I can really see the Carla in this leaf. It really does have that webby Carla vein look. Now this plant would make a great mom, but with who? Okay, I'm feeling somewhat confident about getting the RA5 out now. I don't know if I'm gonna regret this. Oh, you got a huge spider web attached to you. And you're thirsty as well. Okay. Well, here's Pop RA5. I don't even know which leaf to show you. There's one. This is the newest one that got a little bit bleacheroni. And there's a big spider web on the back. Let's clean you up. Just got some wet paper towel. I really thought this plant wasn't that thirsty, but it's obviously been thirsty enough to get crispy. This one's also flowering at the moment, but probably the best leaf I can show you is either this one that has a little bit of yellow and also this one right here. This one actually, I expected it to look a little bit worse because it did produce a batch of berries for me, which was pollinated with the Fort Sherman Ralphalinum. So it has been like bouncing back pretty well, I would say. I'm like wondering if I should cut off a leaf or two, but you know, I don't really want to. But this one maybe could go well with Carib Queen, like put Carib Queen pollen on this plant. Okay, now that I got those plants out, it's a lot easier to show you some plants. Carla Wu 2, we chopped her, right? She's bounced back. She's really perky now, but still no new leaf, but quite a few healthy roots. Like she's rooted out in the tree fern soil quite well. So we're out of the woods. We're in the clear. The stem cutting I taken of it, it was like so tiny. The stem was so small, but it's produced 2 growth points, so that's great. Oh, here's the spider. It's right here. Do you see? That's you've been making all the webs, huh? I don't know if you guys will remember. This was like a few months ago. I boat moded this X1. So this one was, I think, this leaf and this leaf when I put it in this massive pot, and it has rooted out like crazy. I literally just watered it. It was kind of thirsty. It is currently absolutely covered in predatory mites. I don't know if you can see. All of them hard at work here, protecting hopefully it from nobody. Because I don't think I have pests in here, but it's nice to have this like prevention. But look at this new leaf. It is so stinking slender. All the leaves have been kind of like that, like very, very skinny and slim with like very straight up tall lobes. But this leaf honestly is amazing. I think I remember this plant to not be that narrow, which just goes to show that everything seems to grow really skinny when it goes into my tent. But this leaf has been so awesome. And now I don't feel like potting it, but I'm going to just top this up with a bit of soil up to the top so that this stem can just be covered. So just want to add like another 1.5 inches of soil here. And I get to use my freshly mixed tree fern soil. Oh, this leaf. I don't know if I can show you the proper color. It just has such a pretty texture and nice like velvety sheen. Okay, I think I'm gonna attempt to get these plants back in. Don't know if you want to watch me struggle, but here we go. So this one goes all the way to the back, like so. This one goes in front. And then Carla goes here. Something like this. I need a bigger tent, you know? Well, that was fun. That was kind of pointless, but at least I got to see that one Magchris Carla leaf like just out in the open, because that made it all worth it. If it wasn't for that leaf, I would have been like, what? Why did I just do that? Anyways, just to give you guys an update, because I did talk about spraying every day, the pest that I'm dealing with right now was some thrips out here and a little bit in that corner. None so far in my tent, knock on wood. And we've been dealing with spider mites for like 2 years now. And now I'm suspecting flat mites because I don't see a lot of webbing on the mighty damage, like with all the speckles on the leaves. So here's what I'm doing. I'm using this spinosad for thrips. I'm mainly using it as a foliar spray. So I have like a little, like I just put like a few drops of, because it's very strong. If you put a few drops into a spray bottle and I just douse all the plants that have I've found evidence of thrips on. I've done that like very, very regularly. And I've also done 1 to 2, like depending on the plant, 1 to 2 soil drench cycles. So I just put this like the same amount, like a few drops into a watering can and then water the plant with it. So the thrips, I'm not too fussed about because this has worked for me in the past. Now for the mites, I've also used this for the spider mites. I know spinosad can work for spider mites, but you have to like rotate other things in. For the flat mites, I'm using this, which is Safer's End All. Safer's does do other miticides that I don't think is available in Canada, but this is very easily obtainable. I got this from the hardware store. So I don't know if this is widely talked about as good for battling flat mites, but the reason why I'm using this is because Jing has used this for flat mites in the past with her Hoyas. So you know how like Hoyas will, like that classic sign of flat mite damage where it tries to produce all these growth points and none of the growth points end up actually like producing foliage. So it has this like little spiky cluster ball of growth points. So if I remember correctly, she had sprayed Safer's End All. I think she might have used a makeup brush to kind of like brush it into all the crevices. And then the Hoya just started growing properly again after that. So for her, it worked for what she suspected was flat mite damage, but she didn't have a microscope to verify that it was definitely flat mites. It was just showing symptoms of the presence of flat mites on the growth points. And this is also a miticide, so it makes sense that this would work. So this one's supposed to control all stages, which was like important for me. So adults, eggs, and babies of aphids, whitefly, scale, spider mites, mealybugs, caterpillars, beetles, chinch bugs, and other listed insects. So I'm really only just like concerned about the flat mites and the spider mites. So this is what I've been using every evening. And this bottle, I quite like because they also sell a concentrate of this, but you have to get your own spray bottle to use it. And this is like the already diluted version. But I like this because this bottle has a very wide and fine and even spray. So if I spray this, I'm not going to spray it because there's predatory mites, but if I spray it, it covers a wide surface and it's very even and fine. So I don't have to spray a lot. I find it doesn't drip that much on the floor. So this is my current attack regimen. And I think it's going pretty well because there's been a couple of plants that like they've put out a leaf with no speckles whatsoever. So I'm pretty optimistic about the flat mites. I don't know if flat mites are as difficult to get rid of as spider mites. I don't know if they're as resistant to pesticides over time. We shall see. Still learning. But if you're dealing with flat mites and or spider mites and you've been dealing with it for as long as I have, I don't know if I've been dealing with flat mites for forever, but definitely spider mites for a long time. Let me know if you've had like perfect success using any sort of pest management system. I honestly think like with these mites, it's more consistency related than the actual substance used. But you know, I haven't eradicated mites in this room yet, and the only thing I haven't tried yet, it feels like, is an actual like fumigator, bug bomb kind of thing. So let me know what's been successful for you. I'm all ears. I'm open to trying anything. For now, I'm gonna do this and be really consistent with it, like do it every day or every 2 days at the most. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little plant room potter Peter packed up peck of pickled peppers. My little channel announcement. I'm not going to be promoting this heavily on this channel. I'm just going to tuck this here for anyone who's interested. I did turn on memberships for this channel, which is kind of like YouTube's version of Patreon. So the creator just sets certain tiers that you can join on, and then you'll get certain perks depending on what that creator decides to add. So this is something that I've been asked about in the past, like, will you start a Patreon? I know Charmaine's been asked about it as well, and people have asked us like together if we want to do a Patreon, but it's never been something I really wanted to do. I didn't want anyone to have to pay to watch any of my videos, certainly nothing with like informational content like very plant related informational stuff. I don't want people to have to pay to watch that kind of stuff. But people have also argued that like, oh, I have ad blockers turned on and I want to be able to support your channel somehow. So I've opened up one single tier of membership, and that's all I really plan on doing. I don't plan on doing members only videos for the reasons I just talked about, but I'm not completely ruling out like non-plant videos. I don't know, I haven't really thought about it too much, but for now, all that is available on membership is early access to videos. So you'll be able to see videos the day before my typical upload date, but it's going to be the same video that everyone has access to. And you get a little badge next to your name, and I'm adding emojis. So right now you have like Doug emojis and Huxley emojis. And I just wanted there as a very small side thing. If anyone is interested, feel free to join, but rest assured that nothing is going to change for anyone who doesn't join. But also to be very clear, I'm not asking for people to join. You watching this video is more than enough support. Case in point, you watching this video means that I get to have cool opportunities like going to Miami. So I'm just making an official YouTube announcement that that memberships option is on. If you do want to join, I believe you have to join via the desktop version of YouTube. I don't think you can access it on mobile. So yeah, that's my announcement. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you've been having a lovely, restful, happy, peaceful, safe weekend. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.